Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is being versus doing. And it's always an interesting conversation when we talk about the shift of being that allows a level of productivity that flows naturally with ease, rather than something that's being driven by will. So we'll have that conversation and it should be fun. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating and electrifying all your molecules, all your electrons, lighting you up from the inside out, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's rub our hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Rosalind. Good morning to everybody else who's joining us. So good to have you here with us. And we're talking about being versus doing. And this doesn't mean sit and do nothing. What it means is allow the doing, when we're talking about being, allow the doing to emerge from the being. And it will emerge effortlessly. And it in a flow where, I guess, we were talking about particle versus wave and the other day. And I think this is probably more of the same thing, where when we're in the being state, we could kind of compare it to the wave state, to where things are flowing. And when we're in doing mode, we're driving by will, and it's I don't know if the particle wave thing really holds here or not, but it's not in a flow. It's more static when we're having to apply force, and the experience is very, very different. So where this conversation comes from is that I was speaking with a client yesterday, and they were saying, I just am not motivated. I haven't been doing much of anything. And then they went into a list of all these things that were getting done. Some of the things that were getting done by other people rather than them. And they actually had done a whole bunch of things. It's just that, I guess, in the doing of those things, it was so effortless that it didn't even register that they were doing it. In the past, when they were doing things, there was always this drive, this push, this urgency to get everything done. And they would often feel overwhelmed. And now that what the experience was a much, much, much greater experience of ease and flow. And I'm sure we've all had those experiences where we get involved in doing something and time disappears and things get done, and then all of a sudden we look around and it's like, how did that happen? How did it happen that all of this got accomplished? And yeah, it's very, very, very interesting stuff. So how do we induce this state of being? I think in the conversation with this person, one of what we discovered is, and what I had actually advised them to do a long time previous, was do the things you want to do what you want to do. And that is really listening to what is moving us, what is calling us forward. So we were talking yesterday, I think, about has been versus becoming. This is sort of the same kind of idea, is when we allow ourselves to be called forward rather than driven by the past. There's a very different experience of energy. And this person used to do the doing kind of out of needing to prove themselves in some way, needing to be worthy, to create value for themselves. And the doing was motivated out of that. And when the doing is motivated out of that, there's never enough doing. You can never do enough to prove your own value, right? If you feel worthless, you can never do enough. So what was shifting for this person is a sense of worthiness. And in that worthiness, they didn't have to prove anything. So they gave themselves more permission to do the things they wanted to do. And what they found was they actually did quite a lot. And the things that they did were meaningful to them. And I think giving ourselves permission to be, that's really the foundation of this notion, is giving ourselves permission to be who we are, to honor who we are, to honor our desires, our callings. Rosalind says, I found that if you sit long enough, which can be uncomfortable, the things that have to be done or changed start to shift. I love this observation. Either I find myself finally doing it or let go of wanting things to be different. That's so profound. And see how simple, right? It's so simple that if we allow ourselves to sit long enough in that discomfort of not just doing, because lots of us, I've noticed that lots of people do to avoid being, actually, to avoid being present to themselves. And so the our priorities will shift as we get in tune with ourselves. The things that were driving us, so many people run around like a chicken with a head cut off, which is a horrible, it's a horrible image, isn't it? I'm sorry. Sorry to have used that. It was just like, that's a really interesting image that we have culturally, especially when so many of us are completely separated from how we get chicken. Interesting. Anyway, going back to this presencing ourselves, we'll often do a to-do list and it's kind of plug and play, and we do it without any sense of presence, and we often do it with resistance and resentment sometimes, all this to-do stuff. And if we come more from a place of being, many of those things we wouldn't agree to do those things. So that was another thing that this person recognized is, I'm not doing anything anymore that I don't care about. And so before, people would ask for this or that or the other, and now this person is better able to say no. I'm not attending that event, or I'm not taking on that project. Whereas before, anything that showed up, they would be taking it on, they would be doing it. So it was very interesting, very, very interesting, that when we, in a way, when we become more aligned with ourselves, there's more flow, and life presents all kinds of opportunities. So that was another thing that this person was noticing, is the remarkable synchronicities. And as we get more connected, and as we get more connected, there are more synchronicities that occur. And as we notice those synchronicities, more synchronicities occur typically. So it's kind of like this beautiful upward spiral of energy. And one of the things that you said, Rosalind, is that not only do you find that your priorities change about what needs to get done, but you can choose more consciously and deliberately to let go of wanting things to be different. Like there's an alignment where we accept the things that we choose to do are sometimes not necessarily things that we want to do, but we're choosing to do them, and we can let go of not wanting to do them. Like they're things that just need to get done. And so what happens is that the resistance is released, and that's super powerful. So good morning, Jackie. Welcome. So good to have you joining us. And I want to say, if you are putting comments in the chat and I'm not responding, please know it's because I don't see them. So if you want to engage in the conversation, please go to the Facebook page on the Enlightened World Network. The Enlightened World Network Facebook page or YouTube channel, and you can put comments in there. So Rosalind says, we don't have to tell the rose how to be. its form is already built in and can bloom with the right conditions. I love it. Exactly. That expresses it really, really well. But we forget that we are roses because we get to compare ourselves to everything else in the world, right? So unlike the rose, uh, we have to find a whole bunch of effort to, or intention, not effort, but intention about allowing ourselves to be who we are. Because we've been told who to be or how to be by society in so many ways, right? So to remember or to recreate and reconnect to ourselves can take some concerted intention. So Rosalind says, so are there ways to create conditions to allow large doses of compassion? Compassion for self, compassion for others, for sure. Um, the conditions to allow, yeah. I think that there are a bunch of conditions that we can create. I think we can create a context of allowing by the way that the lens through which we view the world and our lives. So we've spoken about this a lot, but one of the things that's made a huge difference for me in terms of allowing is that I operate from life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. And so this notion of life happening for me is even when there's tough stuff, um, I can allow myself to move with that with less and less resistance. So that's also another part of being versus doing is to be also in the moment and and in a place of greater trust of life. So another thing that has made a huge difference for me in allowing this state of being also is life. Who I am is life expressing itself through this unique vessel. So I live in service to life, and life is moving through me, expressing itself through me, through each of us in our unique ways. And so if that with that container, there's for me a greater allowance, a greater connection to the matrix of life. My cat, yeah, Jewel is begging to be part of our morning. So this is Jewel, and she likes being part of this, apparently, especially today. She's 18 years old, so she's been with me a really long time. Anyway, so the being that we're talking about really is allowing in so many ways, allowing ourselves to be connected to our inner drive, to our core, to whatever that impulse of life is, what's calling us forward. So things that we can, that support us is being present to our breath, being present to our body and our breath. That's one thing that can support us. And as you said, Rosalind, the stillness, sitting for a bit with something and being patient, that's a big part of it too. And of course, the compassion that you mentioned. So accessing flow, I think that as we're listening, it's not just audible that we're audible impulses that we're listening to or for. What we're also listening for is the response of our body, the impulses, like the ideas that maybe also flit through our mind on the periphery, or the hints from the universe, the coincidences that just sort of arise that I don't particularly believe are coincidences. They're kind of winks from the universe that might be affirming or confirming or reinforcing or validating even the idea or notion. So Rosalind says, Jewel, wow, 18. Yep. Yep, 18. So also Rosalind says our subconscious intelligence. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's where that's where the being comes from. And the doing that then emerges from that is in alignment. So I'm going to be running a workshop over the weekend, and one of the people attending the workshop said, well, I'm going to be intending to be more quiet than I usually am, so I just want you to know that. And I said, I have a request. And they said, what? And the request was be responsive to the energy in the room. So be present to the energy in the room, and rather than just talking or being quiet, be present to what the energies are that are calling to you, that are emerging or calling you into emergence, into stepping forward, into expressing. And I think that that's really where we can access possibility, is when we can feel into our environment, feel into the whole energy, the energy of the whole, rather than just doing in a vacuum, because it may not be appropriate for us to be doing what we're doing in the way that we are, or we're creating all this turbulence around us potentially. So Rosalind says, being a mirror, reflecting back what you want to amplify. There is that. I mean, if you may have heard that tuning forks, when you have two tuning forks, and you have one that is, you hit one and it's vibrating, then the other tuning fork in proximity will vibrate as well. It'll just start resonating. I forget if the tuning forks have to be of the same key or the same resonance, but without touching even, they resonate with each other. There is this connective energy field that we operate in. And so I remember I had a situation where I was helping someone move, and they were so intent on getting it done and pushing to get it done that they were like a freight train. And I literally plastered myself up against a wall to get out of their way. And that's pure doingness. The fact is that that drive that they had actually impeded the effectiveness of what was getting done, because they were not able to, they didn't receive the additional help that they could have received, right? Because they were so focused and driven, and the energy that they were putting out was so turbulent that there was no getting near it. So what we're looking to do is to find a greater harmony with the larger energies, and that will bring us into a greater flow, and our flow, or our part in the flow of life. So I think that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, and here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other programming on the Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And I'm so grateful, as always, for this opportunity to be with you. Until next time.